Going for romance today with this one. Hi everyone, it's Lee here. Thanks for coming back to my channel, and a big welcome to anyone who might be here for the first time. I hope you enjoy this video and that you'll consider subscribing to my channel, giving me a thumbs up and leaving a comment, which is all fantastic and helps my channel and my videos to be recommended to other people, so everybody gets to share in my enthusiasm for doing this mixed media. Today was another day of Junk Journal January. We're up to day 13 and it's garden. This is an open challenge hosted by Meg Journals in association or collaboration with Get Messy Art. So every day you get a new prompt to help you decide what you want to do in your art journal or your junk journal or in your notebook, your sketchbook, bits of paper, wherever you like to make your art. Now I want to use this napkin in my project, this one with the red flowers on it, and I'm just looking at my swatches here, and when I put my napkin with the swatches you can see how many of the colours are very similar to what's in the napkin. So I'm really happy that this will all blend in nicely together. So the first thing I'm going to do on my pages is to put down some collage. So I've got some music sheet and some book page. So I'll paste some of that down, and that's my first step. So if you're looking at the pages and thinking, well, one's bigger than the other, yeah, it is, and I like it because I like my book to have irregular size pages, and I'm going to use that step down to my advantage in this spread. And a little bit later on I will actually tear off that top right hand corner, and it creates like an asymmetric edge along that right hand page. So here I am, I'm just using some matte medium to glue down the pieces of book page and bits of music sheet. I'm just trying to get any air bubbles out from under the paper and checking that everything is stuck down really well. I tend to miss the edges sometimes when I'm gluing down my papers, so I'm just checking everything before I move on to the next step. So here you can see I'm adding a light coating of gesso, so white gesso, with a dry brush, so it's going on very thinly, and all I'm trying to do is knock back the writing and the colour of that music sheet, which is quite brown, and I don't want any brown in my spread today. So I've just put a little, I think it's craft mat, it's a heat-proof thing, between the pages so that I don't get anything on the next page. That's just there for protection. So I'm giving that torn edge a coat of gesso to make sure the water doesn't get in between the layers of the paper. Now if you ever have a problem getting your layers of napkin apart, I know there's all different methods, but if you just burnish the edge, one of the edges, they'll come apart really easy because that's the way they are actually held together. It's almost like they're embossed through a machine or something, and that's what keeps them together. So I've cut out some of the flowers off that napkin, and I've worked out where I want to put them, and I'll glue them down, and then I'll cover them in matte gel medium. So if you're visiting for the first time today, I hope you enjoy this video and that you will consider subscribing to my channel. If you love this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. So this is the matte gel medium that I'm putting on over the top of the napkin. And with the edges that were hanging over, they're only small bits, so I'm just tucking them back on themselves. So the next thing I'm doing is a little bit of stamping. Now I want to put a dark edge down that side of the page there. And the reason that I want that to be dark is because I've got a quote to put on the page a bit later on. And the quote is, "Against a dark sky, all flowers are fireworks." So on that left hand side, I want the flower to be against a dark surface so that they stand out a bit. So I've made this dark colour with turquoise and red, a little bit of yellow, and this is the same colour but watered down, and I'm going to try and get some drips to run down the page. So I've just extensively watered down that paint to get it to that purpley translucent colour. It's quite surprising that it's exactly the same colour as what's on the left hand side there against the flowers. So it doesn't really look anything like it. But yeah, that's what it turns into when you water it down. So I've got the black gesso now. I wanted my edge to be a little bit darker, so I'm just putting a loose coat of the gesso over the top of the purple, the very dark purple. And I used a bit of gel, it's liquid painting medium, to move it a bit. So just adding a few drizzles down this other page. I was finding it a little bit difficult to control what was going on there for a moment. Now I've made a really thin sort of a greeny colour with the turquoise and yellow and white. I watered it down with the painting medium, and I just want to get some of that on the page. It's very thin paint, so I want it to be translucent. I'm just squirting it with water to get it to run down the page. And now I'm coming in with some of the same paint, but I added a little bit more turquoise to it to make it slightly more blue. And I'll just keep adding some colours to these pages just to get an interesting background. So now I'm just adding a little bit of gesso over the top of the paint. And then going around the edge of the napkin where it was glued down, sort of blending the edge into the rest of the page. So I've made a really loose yellow with some white and a lot of water, and just adding touches of yellow here and there, dabbing it on with the paintbrush and then lifting it off with the cloth, just so that a hint of the colour is left behind. And I'll do that with a couple of different colours. So I make an orangey mix as well by adding a little bit more red into that yellow. And yeah, just add it here and there where I think it needs, it, just to get that really misty, ethereal sort of background. You probably look at it and wonder how it was done and what colours were used and what's actually in there. But just that hint of colour makes all the difference. It's barely there, but it's noticeable. And it's all these little subtle things that you add to the page that end up creating the wonderful backgrounds that you're able to get using these methods. So here I've got some of that rubber matting that I've been using as a stamp, and that's the, well, firstly I put on the purpley colour, and now I think it's red. So I'm stamping over some of the flowers. Got my finger in the gesso again, and I'm just lightening a couple of dark areas, just to give things a little bit of a lift so it doesn't get too oppressive. And I thought maybe another flower over on that right hand side, so I'm just going to extract that flower in a rough way with a wet paintbrush. So I just put some water around the edge of the flower and then pull the bits of napkin away. It leaves a nice rough edge that's easy to blend into the page. So once I'm happy with where I want that to be, I glue it down, and then I just fold the excess over onto the other page behind this one. I think that balances it a bit better. Looked like it sort of was lacking something. Having a little bit of trouble with the light today. There's cloud coming over, and then the sun will be out, and then it'll go dark from the clouds again. And yeah, so I'm having to turn my light on and off or adjust it constantly. Alright, now some yellow drizzles, just really watered down yellow paint. It may have a hint of the turquoise in there, but I love what it does to the flowers when it's run over the top of those red flowers on the left hand side there. And that's just a bit of watered down paint that I'm adding to that flower just to brighten it up. So I have written my quote onto the page with pencil because I was too scared to just go straight in with the paint pen. And after I wrote over it with the paint pen, I decided it was too dark. So I tried to lighten it a bit and then just made an even bigger mess of it. I ended up rubbing half of it off. And anyway, you'll see what I do with it. I just thought at this point, I'm taking the pencil off at the moment. It's too starkly black against that background. I think if I had painted it in grey or used a grey pen, would have been a better choice of colour. So I think, well, I'll put a little bit of gesso over the top, try and knock it back, but there must be still a bit of moisture either in the brush or on the paint itself, because it just smudges it and makes it look really awful. So at this point I was thinking I'm going to just gesso over the top of it and get rid of it and start again. But what I ended up doing was wiping off the gesso, and then I got my paintbrush and tried painting the words, and that didn't work. So I wiped that off. Added a bit of water and got the a little baby wipe and got as much paint off from around it as I could, and then got my Stabilo pencil and drew over or wrote over the existing writing, so it ended up pretty much back to the way it was to begin with. I was going to do that on paper and cut it up and stick it on. I wish I had. I may at some point in time go back and make that alteration. Now this is a really interesting watercolour paint. It's a Daniel Smith one. It's the only Daniel Smith one I own. And the colour is called Moon Glow. And it's like a cross between Payne's Grey and purple, I guess. Very similar to the colour that I made on my palette to go down the side of the flowers. But yeah, it's more easily watered down. And I just love the colour. It's really nice. I can see that it'd be one that I'm going to use a lot of. That tiny little block I think was about $15, so I'll be using it sparingly. Now I thought white Posca pen around that flower and in a couple of other places might be a good idea. I didn't like the Posca pen around the flower, but I did go on to add some dots in white and the number 13 because this is day 13. So don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the video or if you like the work, and leave me a comment. Always love to read your comments. This is white paint that I've watered down. So I've put some gold splatters and some white splatters, and I'm going to call that done. Oh, a couple of black dots by the look of it. So let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you tomorrow for, let me check the list. We are up to pattern. Okay, thanks for watching. Happy crafting. Hugs and cheers from Australia. Hooroo.